So I'm just going to do a little video about finding the percent of an amount. So this could be a percent of a number, or it could be a percent of an amount of money, or a percent of a certain weight. And the question might say something like, find 30% of, let's say, 85 pounds. Okay, now if it was a nice easy percent, like 50% or 25%, you could do this in your head. I'm going to show you a method that's particularly good if you've got a calculator. And it basically comes down to two steps. So the first step, let's make a little box over here for our two steps. Our first step is step 1, which is going to be divide by 100. And what this does, this splits our amount, so our 85 pounds in this case. It splits this into 100 little bits. Each one of these is how much 1% is going to be worth. So we found 1% of our amount. And then step 2 is to times by the percent that you want. So in our example here, the percent that we want is 30%, so we'd be timesing by 30. Okay, let's just change the color down here on my little wheel. Right, okay, so let's get into the question. So my first step, step 1, is to divide by 100. So I'll take my amount, my 85 pounds. I'm going to do 85 divided by 100. And my answer then is going to be, of course, 0.85. And step 2 is to times by the percent that we want. So we take our answer that we just found, so 0.85, and we're going to times it by the percent we want, which in this case is 30%. So we'll times it by 30. And the answer is, of course, if you've got a calculator, this is nice and easy, 25.5. And we want this in the original context of the question. Now, the original question was in money, it was in pounds. So we'll make this £25 and 50 pence. Okay, so let's do another example here. How about this time we'll do a weight this time. We'll do a slightly odder percent that we want. We'll do 72% of 150 kilos. So we'll stick to the same method. So we're going to stick to, first of all, step 1, we need to divide by 100. So we'll take our weight, the thing we want to find the percentage of, and we divide it by 100. And once again, just to remind you, this is because we want to find 1%. We want to split it into 100 pieces and find what 1% is worth. And in this case, 1%, if we divide it by 100, is going to be worth 1.5, in this case, kilograms. Step 2 then, times by the percent that we want. We want 72%. So we'll times 1.5 by 72. And we get the answer of 108. And again, let's put this in the context of the original question. The original question was a weight in kilograms. So our answer is going to be a weight in kilograms. So 108 kilograms. Okay, so that was a calculator method. If you're on a non-calculator paper, hopefully they won't give you a percentage that's too hard to find. But again, they might say it was the good old days of 17.5% VAT. They always used to ask you to find 17.5% of something. So I think we'll have that as our example now. Let's do this of some money. So let's find, say, 17.5% of, why didn't we go for £30? Okay, well, the first way to do this is, or a good way to do this, is to break this down into smaller chunks. First of all, we could find 10% of our £30. And to find 10%, good thing to remember, if you want to find 10%, is you can just divide your amount by 10. That actually is a convenient way of finding 10%. So 30 divided by 10 is 3. So the 10% of £30 in that case is £3. Well, obviously this isn't 17.5%, but we can start breaking it down into smaller chunks. Let's find, now we've got 10%, let's find 5%. Well, how can we find 5%? In this case, we're going to be 10% down to 5%, well, that's half, which is of course the same as dividing by 2. So if we've divided one side by 2, we must divide the other side by 2. So we'll just halve our £3 there. And half of £3 is £1.50. Okay, so we've got a 10% and a 5%. How about we also find, let's find a, sounds like an odd amount initially, but let's find a 2.5% as well. That'd be really useful for us here. Now 2.5% does look like it's an awkward one to find, but actually, if you spot, it's actually just again half of 5. So again, actually in this example, we can just halve our last amount that we found. And half of 5% is 2.5%, and half of £1.50 is in fact, and we'll keep this in pounds to make this a bit easier to add up, it is 75 pence, or 0.75 pounds. Okay, well, eagle-eyed people have already spotted that 10% plus 5% plus 2.5%, add all of that together, and you actually get 17.5%, exactly what we're looking for. And so we can just add our amounts here. We can add £3 to £1.50 and 75 pence on top of that. And we find that if we add all of those together, that we have got £5 and 25 pence. So there we go, there's a method. If you need to find it on a non-calculator paper, you could break it down into smaller chunks. Remember, if you're finding 10%, you just divide your original amount by 10, and that's 10%, and then you can work from there. You could divide it by 10 again to find 1%, or divide it by 5 to find 2%, but break it down into nice, small, easy chunks, and then add them all together at the end to find your answer.